The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production.
Kev, I know you're doing a bit of commercial work these days. I don't do a lot, but I've done a couple this week. And one of the jobs, I thought this was right up your street when I was there. I went to a venue to photograph it, and it's a wedding venue stroke hotel stroke. Anyway, the guy that was showing me around was telling me the history of this place. And I know you like history. And he said to me, this room that we're in now, because this was a school, it was a hotel before, it was a school before that, and it was a hospital during the First World War. And he said, where we are standing now, this would have been the main operating theatre. And suddenly I was like, oh, I don't know about that, Kev. I don't know how you feel about things that go bump in the night, but when somebody tells you that, then suddenly you think, when he went to go off and get a coffee, I thought, no, don't leave me, don't go. Do you believe in all that stuff? I know that you're a God-fearing man. I'm not sure what you do and don't believe in that respect.
Yeah, I do. I believe in ghosts. Yeah, I mean, as a Catholic, I have to. Excuse me. That was a little tap on the shoulder there from
one knock for yes
from the fella upstairs. Follow the line, Mullins, he said.
Yeah, you know the story. Have you ever seen a ghost?
No.
Okay.
Although Gemma's had a few tasty encounters, I have to say, and she's not.
What about the ghost?
She's not one to make things up.
Isn't she? What's she seen then? What?
Well, just I can't really go into it in too much detail because it's a bit close to home. But yeah, some stuff a little bit recent actually that was a little bit. Interesting, let's just say. Something to do with Big Nick, who is no longer Big Nick.
Yeah. No, he's not. No, blimey, Kev, that's quite serious stuff.
I wasn't there, but yeah, it was. Excuse me.
Are you okay, Kev? Can you carry on? Two knocks for yes, one knock for no.
The FujiCast.
Will you get to the end of this?
That was Big Nick. He was just had to be a drink.
What was Big Nick's drink of choice? What
any of it, all of it,
all the above.
Probably why he's not around so much now.
Kev. Would he have done the optics challenge? Would he be? No.
He was a cider drinker.
A cider drinker. Oh yeah, right. Okay. Well, welcome along. Here we are again. It's the FujiCast. You and your questions sent in by email to click@fujicast.co.uk or to the Facebook group, which is now admirably looked after by Neale Ford, actually, who hands it to you, Kev, in a good enough shape that you can just go straight in and you know what's going on. Isn't that the way it works?
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty much.
And also a thank you to our sponsors, PickTime, pick-time.com, who've been with us for a while now. That's the service that we use when we're showing our work. Kev, you use it? No, you're not using it for weddings anymore. Though your weddings are still on there. It's still the ultimate backup for you, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, pretty much every single wedding I've shot is on there in some capacity. When I moved from my old gallery provider, PickTime offer a service where they will drag all of your old galleries across for you, so you can have them all in one shiny place, which is very nice. It was interesting. Did you get the email, the State of the Industry email from PickTime? I think it was earlier this week.
I might have done. I'm not sure. It might still be in my to-do.
It wasn't really a state of the industry. It's more like the state of the galleries.
All right.
And it was things like, I was quite surprised at two numbers, really, that two things that surprised me. One of them was that of all of the uploads of 2024 from everybody to PickTime, there was something like 52% of the images were horizontal and 48% were vertical, which surprised the bejeebus out of me.
So it wouldn't have surprised me if you'd have said sort of 20% were vertical.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected it to be so close to a 50-50 split.
Yeah, it was very close, and that did surprise me because I hate vertical images. Absolutely hate them.
Why?
I just don't like them. They don't fit. Like screens aren't vertical, TVs aren't vertical. We don't see vertically. They don't fit in the frames properly. They don't give you enough space around the edges. There's no need to shoot vertical these days.
I'll come back. I'll come back to that in a moment. We'll stick with pick time for the moment, but I've got an interesting one for you on that.
But the other stat that I was really surprised at was for wedding galleries. They said the average number of images in a wedding gallery was something like, I can't remember exactly. It was well over 700, but it was something like 747 images.
And that's an average.
Yeah, average gallery, 747 images. And I was thinking, wow, that's a lot of pictures to be showing after a wedding. That's a lot. Now, of course, there is a lot of American users on PicTime. Of course, there is probably more than any other country, I would imagine. And they do tend to, sorry, Americans, but you do tend to overshoot, overshow, and give too much. And that's the fact of it. But, I was quite surprised. It was nearly 800 in a gallery.
I like the way Mullins has spoken. You do overshoot, you over-deliver, you over-promise, and that's the fact.
That is the fact.
Who have you been watching on the television over the last 7 days who just says it like it is and then walks off?
Yeah.
But that is a surprising figure, Kev. You and I are very, very similar in terms of the image numbers that we return, or returned in your case, in terms of weddings. It was always about 350, sometimes nudging on to the 400. And if you stayed there for a lot of the dancing, maybe a 450. But it was rarely more, was it?
Oh, no. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, 400, around about there for a normal kind of 8 to 9 hour wedding. Was it? Yeah, I found the thing, right? So there's some more interesting stats. So this is all from PicTime. So they can get all of this from the galleries, and obviously we both use PicTime. I love it. I love all this kind of information. So the most popular camera brands in terms of images uploaded: 35.2% Canon, 14.08% Nikon.
I thought you were going to go Sony.
12.76% Sony.
Sony, right?
Fuji don't even reach it.
Did Fuji not even appear on that as a number?
They only show the top 3.
Oh, okay.
So, and obviously those 3 figures I just gave you only come to about 52%. So the other 49% haven't shown.
I suppose
the busiest month for gallery deliveries.
Go on then.
Have a guess.
I would have said August or September.
Nope, November.
Oh, what?
Yep. The preferred day for sending your galleries to clients. This also surprised me. So let's say you've done your wedding, you've edited it. Actually, this is a good point. What do you do? Once you've finished editing, do you then package up the gallery and just bang the email out? What's your next steps after you finish your editing?
That sounds like you're not really taking a lot of care of it. You just package it up, bang it out.
Because of course PicTime does all this for us. It does the email in. We just tell it.
Yeah.
It puts the emails together and everything.
The button, I press the button that lets you send an email yourself, because there's a couple of other bits in there I know from my spreadsheet of information I know about clients.
And so do I.
But that aside, it's usually around. I'm a sort of a midweek uploader, really. So
let's just say hypothetically, today's a Friday, isn't it? So we're recording on Friday. Let's just say, after this show, you edit a wedding and it's finished, and it's, I don't know, 9:00 tonight, you finish it. What do you do?
I'd send it straight out, Kev.
Right. So there's 2-pronged attack here coming from Mullins.
Right.
So the busiest day according to PicTime for sending galleries out is Tuesday, which I find, that's okay, fine, makes sense. It doesn't make any sense, but any day would not make any sense, really. So it kind of implies that people shoot on a Saturday, have their galleries ready and edited by Tuesday, and off they go. But here's a tip for everybody, including you. Okay. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't send the gallery out straight away. I'd schedule it. So I would always, let's just say it was, I'd finish my wedding tonight at 9 p.m. Yeah. I would schedule it to go out probably at about 6 p.m. on Saturday, the day after. Because what you really don't want is people getting surprise emails just before they're about to go to bed going, oh, gallery's ready, and then just quickly looking at it on their phone, etc. I like to try and target a nice time when they might be at home, having a nice relaxing dinner, whatever, waiting, and they've got time to get the laptop out and look at it nicely. So, definitely don't send them. I'm obviously not talking to you, but directly, but anybody, definitely don't send them at random weird, if you finish editing at 2 a.m, don't send it then.
Oh God, I'm not up at then.
It's on, if they go to work on a Monday morning, they've got their gallery email. That's not the right time.
Oh no, I don't do it then. No.
Hit them with their wedding pictures.
It's usually an evening though when I do upload because
early evenings, scheduled for early evenings.
I like to think that could be a kind of like that could be an aperitif for an evening ahead, if you know what I mean. Reliving our wedding. Not yours and mine, actually.
Yes, absolutely. Just be mindful of the time that they like.
Yeah. No, that's good advice. Yeah.
So, portrait landscape. In 2019, according to PicTime, 37% of all images uploaded were in portrait orientation.
Vertical, yeah.
So 62.5% landscape. Mm-hmm. In 2024, 49% is in portrait.
I think this has got a lot to do with social media.
Yeah. Social media.
Yeah.
I agree. Stupid though.
Well,
stop doing it.
Before you say that, let's pay off the mention for PicTime. So if you want to have a great gallery online, like what me and what Kev has, then go to PicTime, because we've both used other services. I've used a couple. I think you've used one in particular, Kev, but I don't think anything compares to PicTime. And I know they're our sponsor, but we genuinely mean that. So go to pic-time.com, and if you enter FujiCast as a word, you get 1 month free.
727 is the average wedding pictures in a gallery.
727. Right, okay, the vertical thing, Kev. Our very good friend, Philip White, he shoots...
Vertical White?
Philip Vertical White. Well, he could be called that. He shoots exclusively vertical. If you go to his website, there's no horizontal images. And I did ask him, I said, well, why do you shoot vertical? And he said, well, that's the way you see, isn't it? And I was thinking, that's an interesting point of view.
Is his head on sideways?
Well, there is that. But I think the greater thought here is that that's the way people have started to see in terms of what they're used to seeing on their phone. I think that's what he meant, because clearly he doesn't mean that's the way we see, because we see in a horizontal fashion. But it's all social media, isn't it? And so I said, well, how does that work with group shots? He said, I make it work. Yeah, I was surprised.
Listen to this, right? This is so PicTime has all of the AI stuff, and you can search and various things like that. What's the most searched for word in galleries that clients type into their little AI search thing?
Bridesmaids.
No.
Oh.
Group.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's why I have retired from weddings. Exactly that reason.
That you didn't jump on that though, Kev, because you'd have sold a lot more prints.
The words that are popped up in this little bubble are, I'll do them from smallest to largest.
Yeah, go on.
Family.
Yeah.
Dog.
Oh, right. Okay.
Happy.
Yeah.
Cake.
Oh, right.
Dancing.
Yeah.
Flowers.
Yeah.
And group. That's it.
But people aren't really. No. I don't accept that. People aren't necessarily going to write in documentary, reportage, candid. They might do, but I think when they're searching for something in particular, this is rather skewed in that respect.
Yeah, it's also a tough thing for them to search for. Yeah.
So
when do people buy the most prints?
How long does this go on for, Kev?
Oh, I'm near the bottom. I find this fascinating. This is very useful, you see, for those of you that
it is. So what was the question again?
When do people buy the most prints?
I would imagine the weekend.
Oh, no, sorry, months. In months.
Oh, okay.
It makes sense. It spikes towards Christmas, November.
Oh, yeah. No,
November is the time. So if you want to, if you're using PicTime to do any promotional stuff, and you want to do kind of buy one print get one free type of deal or anything like that for your past wedding clients or any clients actually, then November is the time to do it. Don't do it in January, because by the looks of it, nobody buys any prints then.
No.
It goes up and up and up, little mountain to November, then it drops back a little bit for December, but November and December are the highest. And then what are the top selling print products, do you think? I'll give you the four, and then you can give them to me in order.
Okay.
You've got gallery boards. Albums, frames, or just prints.
Well, I would imagine just prints is first, surely.
Ding, ding. Yep.
What's a gallery board?
Multiple images in one frame type thing.
I reckon albums come next.
Nope, albums are last.
Oh, are they? So it's gallery boards next.
Nope, frames.
Frames. Okay. Then gallery boards, maybe.
Yeah.
And then albums.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well done.
Well, I'm not surprised that prints are the first thing.
No, absolutely.
Digital downloads didn't feature as a.
I don't think that's it. It
really
says
a product,
top selling print products.
Print.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that makes
I would
sense.
be interested to know about the digital downloads, but it's not in there. Anyway, I probably shouldn't have shared all of that because that's specifically for people who have already signed up for pick-time.
Well, no, but that makes you think, well, if that's a company that's going to look after me with that kind of useful business information, I need to be a part of it.
Well, they're very clever because, they can use all of this information to forward plan their strategy, what they're going to work on next, what can they promote next, how can they help photographers do more with certain things. It's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we get on with the show?
We kind of have, because I think some of that information is quite interesting, particularly shooting vertical and horizontal. I think that's quite interesting. Right. But of course, if you're doing lots of portraits, it makes sense that they probably are in a vertical sense. All right. Do you want to go first or me?
Not really, though, is it?
Well, what's that?
Not really makes sense. If you're shooting with any reasonably modern camera that's got anything more than, say, 26 megapixels, you might as well shoot horizontal and give yourself the opportunity to crop in if you necessarily need to.
Oh, the purist Kev right now is saying, get it right in camera, son.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, go smaller, walk forward, walk backwards. Don't turn your camera on the side. If people were meant to shoot vertically, they'd make cameras that will look vertical.
Kev, this is going to cause trouble, because there'll be a lot of people now that are saying, yeah, what about XYZ? And they're going to send you a load of photographers that have made their stock in trade of doing portraits. I give you, for instance, one of the most famous portrait shot pictures of all time. Can I just check this, actually? I'm just going to check this because
I'm covered, though, because I've got two monitors, one of which is portrait orientation, especially for those city people that shoot vertically.
Kev. Oh, no. Do you know what? Was that? No, it wasn't cropped. No. So one of the most famous pictures I know of Don McCullen's is the 1,000-yard stare. And he is a documentary photographer. Of that, there is no doubt at all. But that, in inverted commas, shell-shocked Marine, that was a portrait shot, wasn't it? Yeah,
but back in those days, remember, he's shooting film. He doesn't have the luxury, really, of cropping. Well, certainly not much trimming, but maybe in those days. But, things are different now. Things are different. Look at Don's landscape stuff that he shoots now on digital.
Yes, on digital, yeah.
Look at pictures of his plants that he does.
Yes. Yeah,
digital.
I think you're on a sticky wicket by saying you can't crop into a
let's put this in one of those stupid boxes that people keep in their cupboard full of air.
Right, go on then. What do we? Am I going first with a question, or is it you?
No, you better had.
Right, Neale O'Hagan. Message: tripod W *** ER versus IBIS. I wonder what he means by that. Gentlemen, planning a trip to Patagonia. Do you know where Patagonia is? Where's Patagonia, Kev?
I do. I've been there.
Have you been there? Oh, have you been on a rugby tour there? I would imagine, because of Argentina, probably.
It is in Argentina, and there is a colony still in Patagonia that speaks Welsh.
No, really?
Settled by the Welsh. Oh.
Well, I never. That's amazing. So it's sort of Argentina, Chile, isn't it? Really, I suppose. But
yeah, it's beautiful. I'm very jealous.
Anyway, planning a trip there with some multi-day hikes, so trying to bring the right gear. I have an X Pro 3 that I love. If it had IBIS, I'd get the new 1650 kit lens and take that to my 70 to 300. Would I be mad to buy a used 1855 kit lens for the optical image stabilization? Or should I go even further and get the XT50/XT5? Are you keeping up with this? With the new kit? Well, I'll answer that one first.
What were the options again?
So would I be mad to buy a used 1855 kit lens for the stabilization? Or should I go even further? Is it optical image stabilization? OIS?
Yeah, OIS, yeah.
Or should I go even further and get an XT50/XT5 with the new kit?
So the cameras, when the cameras have IBIS built in, that overrides the lens.
And that's why there was a Jello problem with that for quite a while, wasn't there? I think that's solved now, isn't it?
Jello?
Jello, yeah.
What's a Jello?
Well, when you get the wobbly, you get the wobbly effect, don't you? Because the two are kind of working against each other. Do you remember that
I've never heard
when you
that
were
term.
when you were filming Jello? Have you never heard the Jello effect?
No. But yes, so you can switch it off.
Yeah.
It will figure it out. So the camera, the newer Fujifilm cameras will know if you've got a lens on that has OIS, and it will basically do it all for you. But the older ones didn't, and so you'd have to switch it off on the lens if they had a lens switch, or inside the camera on the menu. I'd never heard that term Jello, but you're quite right. When I used to shoot with Canon, but back in the day, the lenses used to have image stabilization.
That's right.
But the bodies didn't. And so if in those days, if I had to put my stuff on a tripod, I would have to remember to switch off the image stabilization on the lens, because otherwise you'd get what you just talked about.
Jello. Well, it's kind of a rolling shutter effect. Yeah.
Anyway, what was his question?
Well, his question was, would you like to come with me to Patagonia? That was what his question was. Would I be mad to buy a used 1855 to have that stabilisation? Or should I go further and get, let's just say, an XT5 with a new kit?
I'd go with the newer tech.
Would you?
Yeah. If your budget can afford it, and quite frankly, if you're going to Patagonia for 3 weeks, you can clearly afford it, then that's what I would do. But
he says, I'm reluctant to take a tripod, but there's a slow realisation that this would solve my IBIS problem. I'm sorry to hear it. And allow for some more creative and low ISO shots. But who wants to lug a tripod around and be that guy holding up the show, he says.
The thing is, you can get, I've got one, a little Manfrotto, I think it's called a Manfrotto Pixie tripod. It's only about, it's probably about 4 inches when it's got its little legs out. And I would look at taking something like that, really light, just stick it in, you can pop it in your pocket, really. Just in case you want to do any kind of long exposures for mountains or any, Patagonia is so beautiful that you'll probably, stuff you won't be able to get away with image stabilization is your long exposure stuff.
Or if you should meet an Irish leprechaun, if you're that far off the floor. It'd be good for that as well.
An Irishman in Patagonia. You might meet a Welshman.
Well, hang on a moment. You might do.
Although I'm sure there's an Irish bar there somewhere.
Yeah, probably. There's an Irish bar everywhere. I've told you the story about being in, where was I? Dominican Republic, Haiti, next to Dominican Republic, wasn't it? And I went across to Haiti, and we went to go to a voodoo show. It was all very, very touristy. And we went into the village. The voodoo high priest, or whatever it's called, came out and he started eating glass, walking over coals and biting heads off chickens and stuff like that. And then
like a Kiss concert.
It does, doesn't it? And then he turned to the audience, i.e. us, and he was wearing something like an O'Grady's bar T-shirt from Dublin, which rather took away the sort of the whole authenticity of him being the high priest of voodoo in Haiti. There's always an Irish bar or a reference to an Irish bar somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah.
Hopefully, Neale, that answers your question. Right, go on, your turn.
Hi, Neil. Hi, Kev. This is from Joseph Abad. Love the show. I have 2 quick questions for you. Number 1, we'll do one at a time rather than reading it all out. One is, when you are in a quieter period with no or limited gigs lined up, how do you approach updating your website to boost SEO and maintain visibility? Let's do that one first.
Yes, now you're looking at me, Kev, in that if Kev could look over his spectacles, he'd be doing that to me now. Now, I think the phrase is poor at doing that with my wedding stuff. If you looked at the Photo Walk website, by the way, the blogging, the articles, that's a pretty good, I think it's a pretty good lesson in how to blog and how to do articles. But for the wedding stuff, so I have a cunning plan, Kev. Do you want to know what my cunning plan is?
Yeah.
So we talked about it a while back, and I didn't decide to take this direction at the time, but I have subsequently done it. I tell you why, I find it really difficult to write about weddings. I've done 1,000 across 20 years, Kev, and I know this sounds odd, but I think I've run out of ways to describe what's happening at a wedding. So I have been, over the last 2 months, interviewing suppliers, some quite large suppliers as well, actually, quite well-known planners. And I've asked them to give me 5 tips each. I've chopped those all up into one tip, so I can play them all in as short podcasts. Podcasts are easy for me, Kev. You know I adore doing podcasts. I love it. It's what I love doing, so it's easy for me. But the interesting bit is that I've transcribed every single one of them so that I've got unique material which is useful to brides and grooms about planning your wedding day. Everything from flowers to dancing to speeches and it's taken me an age to get sorted, and I'm just about to release it properly, and that's how I'm going to do my blogging. Maybe I've said too much.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, you're not the first person to do kind of interview people, but you're probably the first person to do it in the way that you do
just
it.
Described it, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be good. Yeah, absolutely, that kind of thing. Very good. It will certainly help with SEO and transcribing the text is the way to do that as well. Obviously, I used to, I still do it actually. I do this thing called "Why I Love This Wedding Picture."
Yeah, that was your big thing, wasn't it?
Which was just one picture from any wedding. I think the last one I did was a couple of months ago now, probably, but that was from a wedding from 2013. So I just dragged an image out from the gallery from then, popped it on the website and just talked about it. And I approached, instead of the wedding blog, which is, as you say, about the wedding and, I did this, they were lovely, blah, blah, blah. They kissed each other. Everybody enjoyed themselves. It's more from my point of view, why I like this picture. So, and sometimes I'll talk about the, if it's got grain or it's a tricky shot to get or how I approach the light, that kind of thing. And the clients love that. Quite often they would say, do you think we'll get featured on your Why I Love This Picture section?
Well, I also think it's good because it shows them that you've got, you can read a wedding and that you know how to make pictures, documentary sense, at a wedding. You are an expert, and that's what it shows.
Yeah.
But it probably doesn't do much in terms of if somebody says Wasing Park wedding photographer, unless you're getting those words into your I Love features.
So it's all about, from an SEO, because obviously Joseph's question was relating to SEO. So, I would do that post, I would talk about that image, and I would link back to the original blog post if there was one, and mention the venue, etc. But those posts aren't for SEO. In fact, none of it is. You should never do anything. I've said this. You should never do anything for search engine optimization. You should only do put stuff on your website that you think people, real human people, not Google, will find useful, such as your idea of the interviews.
Yeah, because it could be arguable, and that what I've done, Kev, really is for SEO.
No, but it's not, though,
but
is
it's a service. I like to think of it as a service. Yeah,
but it's not for SEO. There might be a byproduct where it'll be good for your organic rankings, but it's not. You're not doing it just for that. That's not the sole objective of it. The objective is that it's honest, useful information for people, and that by inference will be positive for your SEO.
Yeah.
Right. Joseph has a second part of the question. By the way, his Instagram is Joseph Abad.
I am Joseph Abad.
Yeah.
It's like a movie, Kev.
Yeah, I am Joseph Abad. Yeah. When you do have fresh material to showcase, what's your personal process for deciding which photos to highlight on your website or portfolio? Thanks in advance. Cheers from Connecticut, USA. I am Joseph Abad.
I think it has to be a photo. If you're choosing hero images, let's use that horrible corporate word, but it exists. If you're showing hero images, they have to be images, I think, that have some degree of feeling behind them. For me, that's not for everybody, Kev, is it? I learned a really important lesson 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. I went to Kev. This would be your idea of a nightmare, I know, but I went to a wedding show. In fact, we talked about it. I said I felt that like the good old days had returned. So I went to a wedding fair stroke showcase, and I learned a really important lesson. I'd taken, and I've got to change this about my website as well, I'd taken the big, this is me kind of images off the front of my website. And I don't know why, I'd done it to put more text on there, to think in SEO terms. And so straight away you're going to look at me again. And I put a couple of images up, big frames, of my favourite images that have the most, I think, emotion about them. I haven't shown them for ages. And that was the conversation starter for the entire day. And it was a real lesson in show pictures that make people feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about this from a wedding point of view, but it doesn't have to be. It could be anything.
No.
when it does cut. So if you're building, this is a good, people who are building a new website perhaps, and they're thinking about the images for their homepage or their gallery. You've got to decide who is it for. What's the target audience? Obviously wedding clients in our case, and what are you trying to tell them? So that comes down to your style. So for us, you and I, we'd be prioritizing kind of emotional impact type images. For those that shoot silly vertical group shots, then they will be showing more of that kind of stuff. Okay. Then I think it's important to have variety, but not too much repetition. And I see this a lot. You see a lot of websites where there's a lot of kind of getting ready pictures because they're often fun and a little bit easier to get, and only a handful of the ceremony kind of thing. So try not to repeat too much stuff, but there does need to be variety. I would say that for gallery pages and for home pages, you don't need to be updating it regularly, but you do need to keep it fresh. So, every few months, have a quick think about, is this still the best picture I've got? And if not, change it a little bit, but always think about that, what's the story of your website? What are you trying to sell? And, try not to overload it too much with very similar images.
Here's a question. This kind of plays out of what you've just said. One of the problems I've had in doing blogs about a wedding day, a whole wedding day, is, oh God, what do I put in there? I'll put this and then that, and then before you know it, you've got like 70 pictures in a blog post, which is absurd.
Yeah.
Well, would it not just be better to think, right, I'm going to put 20 great images and that'll be fun. That'll tell the story.
Yes, I agree. Although I'm cautious of saying that 70 pictures is too many, because you're right. I mean, generally it will be. But if they are 70 really good, if you've got 70 super strong pictures, then, and they're not, there's enough variety and not repetitive. So it's not, like I said, so many blog posts that I see people overload the bridal prep and the dancing. And then there's this kind of 3 or 4 pictures in the middle of the ceremony. But actually, that's the wrong way around. The ceremony is the target. That's what people, they're getting married. So if you're lucky enough to get 70, superb images for a blog post, then I don't think it's too much of a problem to show those, as long as, and you're quite right when you say this, that the story's there and, it's well balanced. But yeah, I mean, Jeff Ascoff used to say, didn't he, that he could tell the story of a wedding in 3 pictures, and that would be it. He'd be very happy. And of course, this is us as storytelling photographers. Not everybody is, and just be careful is my word. Don't shoot vertical.
There's nothing wrong with shooting. There's nothing wrong with shooting vertical. And for the record, do go and look at Phil's work, because actually it's a really interesting exercise in somebody who's completely changed the way he shoots. Because
and actually, thinking about that with Phil.
Well, yeah, because he's a horizontal shooter for his films.
There's an element of unique selling proposition.
Yes.
He could be. That could be part of his strategy. I am the only person that does this.
Hadn't thought of it that way.
In which case, yeah, why not? Of course, I'm saying all this tongue in cheek, but my tongue is vertically in my horizontal mouth.
Will it be horizontally in your vertical mouth later on when Wales play rugby? We'll know, of course, by Monday what goes on with the score. But
I am going to the most English pub tonight to watch Wales v France. I should be wearing my old London Welsh jersey, as I always do, the tight net. And there will be me and Welsh Gareth, who will be sat at the front, and everybody else, because the pub will be packed full of English people, will be cheering on France.
What?
Quite right, so they should be.
What's his name? Welsh who?
Welsh Gareth.
Who does Welsh Gareth support? That's ruined it, really, by having to ask who it was. I've got a question here, but this isn't a question that came into the email, into click@fujicast.co.uk. It's just something that I'd written down. So let me read it, because I'd written it out as if it was a question, and then, because it was for you. I put, Kev, I came across a study about Google's algorithm in 2025, and it's got me thinking. And because you are an SEO man, as you are, Kev, I thought you might be interested. For the first time in a decade, Google lost a sliver of its market share. Less than 1%. Thanks to, it might be more than that now, I don't know, thanks to ChatGPT. So what I read was Google is still top of the pile when it comes to the important stuff like transactional searches, blah, 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 like weddings and portrait clients and stuff.
Yeah.
But the SEO world is shifting. So because there's so much average content out there, thanks to AI churning this stuff out, does it mean that Google's top spots are now more valuable than ever? I've surprised myself with the intelligence of that question.
Yeah, and we talked about this, didn't we? Last year, we talked about ChatGPT, and then we've got this Chinese one that's on the market as well.
Yeah.
And the effect it will have on Google. And I think, if you remember rightly, I would say that it will have a huge impact on Google over the coming years. But I think we're protected. I think generally, certainly for now, things like ChatGPT, I use it constantly. I mean, you wouldn't believe the stuff I've been doing with it today. And I use it constantly. I very, very rarely use Google. But if I was looking for, a photographer, as we all are, then I would, of course, have to use Google, because ChatGPT doesn't have, it's not a search engine in the sense of, can you find me wedding photographers near Berkshire?
Yeah.
That's, it will come up with some ham-fisted attempt at giving you a list of them. But that's not what people will be using it for. So I think in that respect, we're kind of protected. But, I just so rarely use Google now.
I've written, find me the best wedding photographer in Malmesbury. You're right. It just comes up with lists.
Yeah, it won't be able to tell you.
It doesn't really tell you much.
It doesn't.
Yeah, you're on there.
Yeah, it'll just be a list, though. You can't do that.
This is weird. Our friend Gary Williams appears third in the list. From London.
He did a wedding in Malmesbury very recently, so he's probably blogged it. I know he did a wedding in Malmesbury very recently because I was his chauffeur for the day.
And GEO, I'll get there in the end, generative engine optimization, that'll never catch on. GEO, where tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity is the other one, we haven't talked about that one really, handle more than just casual questions.
So they're starting to launch, it's starting to come in now with ChatGPT. So they already have the tasks thing on there. So like, for example, I've got one very simple one. I've just set up a task that says once a day, send me any new news that is like breaking news about Arsenal. And it does it once a day. And I told it at like 5 o'clock. So at 5 o'clock, it sends me, I get a little email. It pops up in my ChatGPT app. Says this is the new stuff going on at Arsenal, or it might say there ain't any. Sorry, we're not buying a new striker. No. But what is coming, if you read about it, is this idea of it becoming much more of a personal assistant, in that it will soon be able to book things for you, and I've used it to plan trips, when I drove down to Spain and everything, where to stop, and it's given me ideas of hotels and everything. But now the next stage is, it will be, do you want me to book this for you? Do you want me to see if there's availability? That will come very, very soon.
Have you trained yours to use a particular actual voice? I don't mean voice as in voice of the tone.
I don't use the voice bit.
I do. I asked ChatGPT if it could possibly sort of find me a voice very akin to Winona Ryder, and it's not done a bad job. Right, I think we've got time. Have we got time for one more before last?
Yeah, one more. Go on.
And then you're off to the pub to watch the match. Of course, we'll know the result by Monday. So hopefully, you and Welsh Gareth are going to be pleased. Well, do we?
I'm fairly sure I can predict a very.
Go on, predict it, Kev. Go on. What is it going to be?
I think it will be France will score over 30 points and Wales will score less than 10.
God, that bad?
Yeah. Why? Well, that's if it's just that, then I'll be quite happy, frankly.
I wasn't expecting that. Anyway, go on then. You've got one from Facebook.
My turn. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I closed down Neale's little list. No, it's all fine. It's all fine. It's all fine.
Do you want me to? I can find one if you want.
No, let's go. I've got them here. I'm just trying to find one I haven't done. Okay, so this is David Jennings, and this is from a little while back. He said, I wanted to discuss wedding photography packages and what you include in them. Do you have different levels with and without certain parts of the day? Do you offer an upsell to record the ceremony in video as well?
I've noticed a lot more people asking for video and photography. I don't like doing that myself. I can do it, Kev, but I just think you take your eye off the ball a bit if you're trying to do both those disciplines at the same time. I think you're either one well or the other. So the way I short circuit that is I say, look, most people want the sound from a speech or a ceremony, and so I record the sound and then I put it all together in one long MP3 file, with chapters, so you can listen back to your wedding if you want that. So that helps.
Yeah, presumably that's a thing you add.
That is an add-on, yes.
Is on. Yeah.
My photo films I took away for a while, actually, because I thought, I've just done so many, I'm not... but I've brought them back. So photo films are another one. That's the sound of the day over a, if you like, a supercharged slideshow with music. Carefully cut, I might add, Kev. I do extra hours to take you to midnight. I think that's about it, Kev. Oh, and albums as well. But other than that, everything's as it is. You have me for 90 minutes prior to the service ceremony, up to the first half hour to hour of dancing.
Yeah, pretty similar. Packages that I used to offer were essentially bridal prep to an hour after the first dance, ceremony to speeches, because some people don't want bridal prep or dancing. Didn't sell many of them, but a couple. And then the other option was bridal prep to midnight or carriages, whichever comes first. And that used to sell quite a lot, actually. I'd say probably 20%.
One of my favourite images of Facundo's was when...
Oh, that's a name I haven't heard for a while.
Well, yeah, no, we love him and his work. Yeah. Do you remember that picture that he had of... I've always remembered this as one of his pictures, as when the wedding was over and he'd photographed people rolling the tables away. I really like that photo. It was the closing image. It was closure on a wedding day.
Yeah, I mean, in Mexico, their coverage, their weddings don't finish till like 3-4 in the morning.
Yeah, they're late, aren't they?
And then the photographers are there the whole day. They typically stay in the hotel and they're there full bang, 24 hours.
That's a bit like an Irish wedding in many respects, isn't it? There's not really an end time for an Irish wedding. I remember doing one in was it Killarney, Kev? Oh, you must have been to Killarney. You've been to Killarney?
I don't think I have, actually.
Oh, Kev, we must go there. It's an amazing place. It's wonderful.
I went to Kilkenny, but I couldn't find Kenny.
I didn't. But I remember I asked the question. I said, well, when's the dancing going on to? And I got that look of, well...
Tuesday.
Yeah, whenever, really. Do you need to ask that question? Right, that's it. Kev is off to the pub. I know by Monday we'll know whether Kev would have been a happy Kev by the end of the evening or not. I hope it's not going to be that much of a walkover, Kev. I thought Wales were stronger these days.
Good Lord, no.
No? Oh.
No.
Doesn't JPL Williams still play for them, doesn't he?
No, he's dead.
Oh, God. Kev.
He died last year.
Oh, was it last year?
Yeah, it might have been a year before.
God, absolute legend.
Reasonably recent.
Absolute legend in a red shirt, wasn't he?
I played against him once.
You did not.
I did. Well, I played against him and with him.
Wow.
We went on tour and played against Bridgend, the Bridgend veterans team.
That.
We played the first half for them and the second half for us at London Welsh.
That is a pretty cool claim to fame, Kev, I think.
He was the best person on the pitch and he was in his 60s.
And on that note, that's it for another couple of weeks. Get your questions into Facebook or to click at fujicast.co.uk. Have a good one, Kev. Bye.
Bye-bye.
The Fujicast is an independent loading zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.